Now on to the shocker of the weekend. How about the Davona Dale? This was the race preceding the Fountain of Youth. Let's take a look at that field. These are 3-year-old fillies going a one-turn mile. 1-5 favorite was the Breeders' Cup champion Jaywalk. She was also the 2-year-old filly champion last year. All things deservedly so. She really had done nothing wrong. 5 different tracks in her 5-race career. 4 wins, a second. You know the deal. There's a reason she was 1-5 in this race. This was supposed to be nothing more than a starting off point. And it still is nothing more than a starting off point. But boy, you're supposed to do a heck of a lot better than she did. Here's the stretch run of this year's Davona Dale.
Oh, flat. Jaywalk just lost ground to Cookie Dough. Cookie Dough still finding up front. She's 13-1, and Jaywalk is not finding. Jaywalk fails to fire here as Jeltrin now offers the challenge to Cookie Dough. Cookie Dough digging. Jeltrin surging. Jeltrin's 50-1. Cookie Dough tries to hold her off. These two photo finish.
Jeltrin, the longest shot on the board, gets the job done at odds of 51-1 over Cookie Dough, who runs just a game second after setting the pace at 13-1. And then Champagne Anyone is the third place finisher at odds of 9-1. Your 1-5 favorite, Jaywalk, off the board. Bridge jumpers, sorry, you lose again. Giant show payoffs, $34 for Jeltrin, $22.60 for Cookie Dough, and $15.40 for Champagne Anyone. Let's talk about the winner, Jeltrin. She's 2 of 6 lifetime, 2 other times in the money, just under $160,000 in career earnings. Owned by ADR Racing Stable LLC, trained by Alexis Delgado. Bred by Kidder, Cole, Griggs & Griggs in Kentucky, ridden to victory by Luis Saez. You can see the pedigree at the bottom of the horse card. She is by Tapazar out of a successful appeal mare named Song to the Moon. 91 Beyer speed figure, 101 Timeform US rating for Jeltrin in this race. Now again, I've brought it up before. Keep in mind, these Timeform ratings that I'm giving you, these are the pace adjusted ones. Timeform US had the 3/4 and the 7/8 calls in this race. Color coded blue, meaning that basically as they turn for home and even to the top of the lane, a little bit on the soft side. These fractions, they're relatively slow when you look at this thing in the grand scheme. 24-1, 47-2, 12 for 3/4. They stopped the clock in 36-4. We're not talking about blistering time set here, which is what made Jaywalk's performance that much more terrible. We'll get to her in a minute. Jeltrin, I'm not going to sit here and knock her. She went out there. She did what she needed to do. Now, going back to the speed figures, though, these are the time-adjusted or pace-adjusted numbers for Timeform. Usually, I take about 20 off of the raw number and sort of make the comparison between that and the Beyer. If you do that, I believe it was a 105 that Jeltrin would have earned in here. Either way, you're looking at roughly a 6-point differential between the two. So that's something that you need to factor into your handicapping if you think that the Timeform rating perhaps a little bit on the low side, or you think the Beyer a little bit on the high side. Jeltrin, she stalked. She went on with it. She was very, very late with her lead change, but look, she got the job done. I'm not going to sit here and knock her. Do I all of a sudden think she is a primetime player as far as Kentucky Oaks race is concerned? No, not at all. But you know what? Crazier things have happened. It's not totally out of the realm of possibility that she continues to move forward. Right now, though, I don't look at her as a major threat. Cookie Dough earned a 90 Beyer and a 101 Timeform US rating. I'm a little bit more intrigued with Cookie Dough than I am Jeltrin, and I'm sure most people will look at that and say that that's a little bit of a silly statement. But Cookie Dough, this was her first start since the end of September. She'd been gone for a really long time, and she hadn't really done anything wrong throughout her 2-year-old campaign. She comes here, she runs as well as she does off the bench, setting the pace. I know it was slow, but I think she can be a very useful one-turn type. I could see her being an 8 Bells type. I could see her being an Acorn type if she continues to improve. To me, this was a nice starting off point, and she's one I am intrigued with going forward. Not that I'm not intrigued with the other girls, but I just feel like maybe there is a little bit of something here under the radar with Cookie Dough. Champagne Anyone, English. Champagne Anyone, decent enough effort, but nothing spectacular. They were 5.5 lengths behind the top 2. And then you get to Jaywalk. I don't know what to say about this. She just dropped anchor. She never ran. She was in a perfect stalking position. I thought she should have been used early. I thought they should have just gone on with it and said, come and catch me. That's why I said I think it's a 1-2. It's a 2-speed number. The 1 goes, the 2 sits just off, and I like them in that order. Instead, the 2 was able to clear off because there was no interest whatsoever shown in the lead for Jaywalk. And then when the running started, she had nothing. And this is one of those instances where, look, you look at it and you say, John Service, great horseman, no question about it, knows what he's doing. She's going to come back. She's going to run in either the Gulfstream Oaks or they're going to wait for the Ashland at Keeneland. I just have such a difficult time taking a horse off of an effort like this. Now, on the flip side, we just spoke about the Fountain of Youth. You know, I had said many of the same things about Code of Honor exiting his run in the Mucho Macho Man. I said that you were terrible when the real running started. And he was just apparently just a short horse, and he wasn't fit and ready to go. And he comes back in his next start and he quits himself. Maybe that's what the instance will be here with Jaywalk. I don't know. To me, that's just a very, very large assumption because this was just a picture-perfect trip. And then when the real running began, she did none. It's difficult for me to take her off this. I would be inclined to sit back and say, prove to me in the Gulfstream Oaks or in the Ashland that you are the 2-year-old champion still, that you still have that sort of form or that sort of ability. And until then, it's kind of hard for me to trust you at a short price. But would it be stunning if she did improve and bounce back and rebound in her next start? No, not at all. Again, she goes out for a good outfit, and she's clearly talented. She's run big races in the past. I don't know, but this was an unmitigated disaster. I don't think anybody would argue that. The bombshell of the weekend, Jaywalk, off the board in the Davona Dale at odds of 1-5. One other horse just to throw out there. I thought Another Time was a little bit intriguing in here just because, to me, she's the kind of horse, she's an Ontario bred, and she made a little bit of a move into the far turn, and then she just couldn't kind of stay on down the lane. This was her first time on dirt. She'd run really, really big in that race at Woodbine at the end of her 2-year-old campaign. I still think she is a sneaky one going forward as far as... I'm sorry, I'm talking about Another Time. Bold Script. Bold Script is the one that I find a little bit intriguing because, to me, she's the kind of horse that is this nothing more than a dry run. You know, Jose rode her this time around. I think you're still looking at a horse that when it's all said and done, she could be a nice player when we go back up to Woodbine and you get her ready for a race like the Woodbine Oaks in time. I don't think she's a dirt horse, though. But she did make up a little bit of an interesting move rounding the far turn before flattening out. Geltrin, shocker, 51-1, the longest shot on the board. She gets the job done over Cookie Dough. Jaywalk, the 1-5 shot, the favorite, nowhere, off the board, dropped anchor, really, really poor effort. We'll see if she can come back in her next start, wherever that may end up being.